Welcome to the Westworld Morning After Show. I'm Patrick.
I'm Lynn.
And I'm Caitlin.
And we are big fans of the show Westworld and editors here at CNET. Today we're going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 8.
And if you're anything like me and you hate spoilers, you should leave right now because we're going to spoil a lot of stuff on this episode.
Patrick obviously hasn't watched it yet.
Yeah. I don't know what he's doing on this show.
No, okay. So you don't like spoilers, you're out. Bye. Kiksuya is the name of this episode. And in Lakota, it means remember, which I think is so spot on for this episode. It's great. Just to give like a quick little recap, this is probably one of the most linear episodes we've ever seen from Westworld.
Probably
and
why.
Can we just say yay to that?
Yeah, it's probably why I always felt like the most relaxed in the whole thing. Like I wasn't just trying to figure out the whole time what was going on.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, allowed more like the emotions to really hit you harder than you would like.
That's what I was going to say.
Is that subplot Bernard or is that triple Bernard from 2 timelines ago?
No, you have one main character and you're following him the whole time. We then, at the end of it all, kind of learn that Akecheta.
Akecheta.
Should we say Ake just for
Ake? Let's call him Ake.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what she
We're
calls
like
him at one
buds.
point. So Ake, as we're going to call him now, is we learn explaining his history and how he has discovered the outside world. Essentially how he woke up to Maeve.
I feel like the way he discovered the outside world was parallels Maeve's, except it was like more abridged and shortened, and especially the stuff where, you know, he had to kill himself and realize that that's how he gets out to find a loved one. I was like, oh, this reminds me of Maeve when she was like multiple times killing herself.
Definitely, definitely. Another similarity, they're both rooted in love. They are both so strongly because of the love of another host. And we see that in Ake's story. He, gets ripped from his love. He kind of sort of wakes up and discovers there's this alternate world. And then because of that, Ford rewrites his programming and makes him more like mindless Killy. And so he goes and gets Killy and then starts to realize, wait, something's off. Something's different. And he discovers, or, still has the memory of the maze in his mind. So then he sees his wife at camp, or his past life wife, Kohana, and it really all starts to come back to him. He remembers loving her. He remembers being with her. He remembers all the times they would talk and stay together. And he actually kidnaps her.
Not the best way to say that you've known someone, by the way. If you feel like someone is kind of familiar to you, don't sneak at night into a tent and be like, come with me. P.S. It's okay. You know me. It's fine. Like, don't do that. It's like, I didn't know why he couldn't just kind of took her aside in the morning time in a non-threatening way and be like, hey, I think, we might have known each other in a past life.
But I like how but also like you see him like literally washing his character off, washing off the Ghost Nation to kind of come back to him. But it's like, why not when you're clean? Supposed to like riding off for like 10 more miles.
Just shower
first.
You're
like, hey, I showered.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Hand
you
her a note,
me?
maybe.
A or B, do you like me or not? I'm kidding. But I thought it was beautiful, but also haunting.
He kidnaps her. He kind of brings her into his, I don't want to call it a reverie because it actually is probably the precursor to the reveries that Ford gives everyone else.
Is it like a bug then?
I don't think so. I think that, we learn in this episode that he is called Alpha 2, which could lend credence to the idea that he is the second host ever after Dolores. He was in the same model as Angela. We see him pitching the company to William and Logan.
In the
much earlier episodes.
2, yeah.
And I think that his awakening is probably a true awakening. He has really discovered, by virtue of really not dying for so long, the outside world and these humans and these others that are around him.
Ford also said that he built him to be more curious.
Yep.
But then I just don't see how that curiosity leads to basically a whole upheaval of Ford's code. He's like, oh, I didn't breed you to be that curious. Now you're undoing everything.
But he doesn't seem upset about it either. Ford does not seem angry when he's like, oh, you weren't supposed to do this. He seems really intrigued. And he tells him, okay, well, next time you see the Deathbringer kill me, you'll know it's time to gather your people. And then we see Ake after our present day gala finding Ford, realizing what it means, and, entering that next phase. And he's, like I said again, all describing all of this to Maeve through her daughter.
Which I didn't really realize until the end, and I still was a little bit confused because there were some point in time where I was like, whose memories are these? Because there was a lot of Maeve and her daughter, and in the last episode showed that her daughter kind of was, her mother's role was supplanted by this other, like, Maeve 2.0. So I was like, who are we thinking through? Who are we seeing through? Because shouldn't the daughter have more memories of the other mother?
New mom.
Right.
The new mom.
New Maeve.
But
New
apparently
Maeve mom.
these are not her memories.
They're probably Maeve's memories. We were probably watching Maeve and Ake, line up their timelines and say, hey, here's my story, and I wasn't there to harm you. I was there to, like, watch you. I was there.
All a big misunderstanding.
Right. I was there to, like, help you wake up. And that's exactly what it is. This was a huge misunderstanding by virtue of him kind of adopting that Killy persona. And it's interesting that Maeve, kind of, how did she know to talk to him through her daughter? Like, did he know that she could control them, so he called to her?
And she now also knows Lakota too? Like, this was like a recent development?
She developed that in the last couple episodes too, yeah.
But I also think that goes back to last episode when we saw Maeve being shot and grabbed by the troops.
Yes.
That we were wondering where all the other people we had seen the previous episode were. And that I imagine that he's seeing this going on. He's grabbed the daughter to protect her. All the things that we don't know at the time because we see his point of view this whole episode. But I also think that might be a little bit of why he wants to get in contact with her.
The whole episode is like providing context to how the Lakota tribe has been the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of this play by Tom Stoppard, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which kind of has the gimmick of being Hamlet told through the two guys who get killed in Hamlet, like midway through. Granted, it's more of a comedy than that, but I love that it just gives instantly this empathy to Ghost Nation and Ake and his role, and it does it in such a beautiful way. And we're seeing the same themes and the same kind of mysteries we see all throughout Westworld, but just done in such a more poetic way. And I think maybe because of that, that's, at least for me, it was a lot more emotional. And it was definitely, I would have no problem saying it's definitely my favorite episode.
Would you have preferred that it happened sooner? Do you think it's necessary to be this late into Westworld? I mean, we're almost 20 episodes in at this point.
No, it's a good question because I've been thinking that too. Like, if I were to show someone who'd never seen Westworld one episode, it might be this one. Because I feel like you get a little bit enough. Grant, there's a lot of spoiler stuff, and that would be horrible. But just to show someone like, hey, you've not seen this show, this would be the episode. Because I think it just brings you in so simply but elegantly. And there's just a poetry. I mean, and it's a love story not only between I think the host, like Ake and Kohana, but also between Maeve and her daughter, but also between Ford and those hosts, which whether that's a godlike love or whatever. But then in real life, we also have Lee and Maeve, which we see like Maeve in that.
Lee is doing the crappiest job saving her.
He's horrible.
I was like, I thought he could have done it one episode earlier, and he's like, no, please, protect her. And he's like, and they already flayed her.
Yeah, it's like, you had a little blood. Now you have more blood. Like, you're doing a really bad job.
Yeah, you're
her.
terrible right now. I mean, whatever your intentions are.
But he also, it
maybe
seems like his power has been minimized in the hierarchy that's back.
All he's been doing is like sneaking into the lab and being told to go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's striking too. There's one scene when it's shooting her from her right, and you can just see her jugular vein pulsing under the flayed skin and muscle. And I was like, wow, that's super creepy and really awesome.
Yeah, whoever's doing the makeup on this one is like tremendous.
Yeah, and it's very creepy, but I also think it visually just shows you how, like, not to say she's on life support because she's not really alive, but
Kinda.
Yeah, because she's blinking and she's like
metaphor,
responding.
but
It's still
yeah.
really like unnerving to see that.
Yeah, it's like there's obviously she is just a few moments away from having everything go away. But at the same time, that is of interest to the Delos people because what's the line they say? Like, she's the only one who has admin access right now. Like,
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, and then at the end, so as Ake has given her his life story, he kind of tells her, like, don't worry. We will take care of your daughter. I promise. I'm sorry we couldn't save you. If you live, come back. Join us. Be with your daughter. And if you don't, I mean, Die well. Good luck. Bye.
Die well. That's a great.
Yeah.
That'd be a great
I love
t-shirt.
that one.
Also, like this, talking a little bit about taking a minor character. If you can, I try to imagine another show. I can't think of one that's taken a minor character and featured him or her so predominantly. And also, the actor Zane McClarnon has always been that character actor you see in lots of TV shows. The one for me that stuck out was season 2 of Fargo. He plays
wow.
an amazing character, very badass character, but also has some equal moments where he gets more screen time than you think a character like that normally would. But to give a whole episode to an actor as talented as him, and to all the actors who play in Ghost Nation, I think is just like not only cool, but like, wow, there's so much more to be explored just in the characters you already have in Westworld, let alone before we add in things like Shogun World and all those other things.
Yeah, I love it. I don't even want like one episode. I want like all 5 more episodes of Ghost Nation.
Yeah.
Just like, I feel it is great that they devoted one episode, but I hope it's not like a cheat. They're just like, oh well, here's one, and we have one in Shogun World. I hope it gets more integrated as the 2 episodes left, or maybe the next season too progresses, just to have more like equal weight, because like, as viewers, we want to see more of these characters, and I feel like one episode may not be enough because it's so good, and it's like
it's so good.
Yeah, and the scene in the cold storage, that was, I think, that was the most touching scene between any two. Like, I remember we were sad between Dolores and the father, but I was just also like, well, these are all scripted lines. It's not really, I wasn't really super feeling it. It was sad, but
No, but like Peter, he responded. Like, even though they were scripted lines, it was like he knew her. He was able to like give back some of the emotion that she was giving
Well,
him.
I think that's the difference between watching 2 characters who are playing host being programmed to share that emotion, which was powerful. But I'm with you. The moment in Cold Storage with the Nirvana cover, it's just like that he doesn't realize that they basically, even though she's physically here, have made her completely disappear.
Yeah, and I feel like also like Dolores still has like a lot of power and where she stands, and she still has a lot of things to do. But with him in Cold Storage, it's just there's such a sense of like hopelessness because he can't do anything. He doesn't know where to bring her back and what does this all mean, and like how he would just start. I mean, maybe he does like later on, but like there's just like, oh, there's absolutely nothing he could do. And when they take her away too, when she gets carted away from the text, it's like he was like chasing after her, and then you think like, where is he gonna go? He can't just run, and like there's this whole other layer outside of where he lives, and he's getting some sense of that, but he can't like quite grasp it, and he doesn't have like as much control and power, and it's just really sad.
It's really sad, and then I think also thinking like thematically too, like as we live in America, that country very known for how horribly they've treated Native Americans and the tribes that were here, that we're seeing these images like a Native American in full warrior makeup going on an escalator downstairs is like just these tremendous images of like this emptiness of technology, but then like the soulfulness and peacefulness that at least his character and that his tribe has in this episode. I don't know. It was really effective for me because sadly a lot of us don't think of things that way, don't think of our history that way and what we had to destroy in order to have the civilization we had. So there's like that duality too, I think. But yeah, I was just like that moment, and then the other part too when he looks over to see the son and brings back the braid for the mom. That was another where he was like,
But I felt kind of bad though because he's like, oh, I found your son, and she's like crying, and then there could be like still a substitute son next to her, and she's like, well, I thought I was your son. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have this braid that you're talking about.
I mean, she was mostly awake.
Yeah.
She was reaching that awareness.
There was like a substitute son too.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I found your son. He's like, I thought I was her son.
There
What's
was
going
a
on? Like,
substitute ex-wife too.
But I like how they even don't even call them substitutes. It's like, oh, I see you have a new ghost. It's like, what the hell? That's crazy.
What I also kind of like about them all kind of waking up is that in the first season, Ford thought that the only way to be awake is to, Ford or Arnold, I forgot, but is the only way to be awake is to suffer, is to go through all these loops and suffer each time because each time you want to change your situation and get out. But then Ake still had an inkling of an outside world, even when he was living like a pretty peaceful life.
But Ake runs into Logan.
Logan, that was a great callback or come like yay, and then it's like, oh, he's crazy, sunburnt Logan.
Yeah. I'm like, where are the
Worst
texts?
vacation.
I know. I'm like, where are the texts getting him? They're taking a little long to like wrangle him in.
Yeah, I sort of kind of explain that away in my brain as like maybe they treat him like William, like Man in Black William, where it's like, oh, we're not supposed to go for young William or for Logan Delos. Like, we just leave them.
But he's crying for the door. It's like, get me out of here. It's like, at what point do you go like, wow, the guy who owns this son is naked and going
he's like,
crazy.
he's out in the desert for like 3 days.
Maybe you might want to give him like a back, like go pick him up with the white car. But the lines that he says to Ake with, hey, we're in the wrong world, and the door, like those are the ones that kind of popped up for me. And I feel like Ake takes that up as kind of describing that he's not being, the life he's living is not necessarily the one he's meant to live.
Yeah. Or like this is like a fake world and that there's some real world out there. But as a viewer, I was also kind of unfortunately thinking like, oh, the real world's not so great either. Like if he were to exit outside and seeing like what we do and all that stuff, and plus like Americans have had a really garbage history about how we treat Native Americans. But this island might be in China, so this could be different. I don't know.
They have a much better reputation.
Yeah. But I was just all like, oh, you don't want to even be in the real world. We're garbage people.
But also, he keeps referring to it as the people below, which I think is neat because you think of like old like mythology, like Hades and the world below, like that these are like the devils and the stuff running the world. And
because he
literally
sees the pit.
Literally below, which I thought that was kind of smooth and creative as well.
Yeah, it's good because colonizers are the devil. So
colonizers are the devil.
And on that note,
subscribe, ring the bell. Okay, so what does Ake see when he sees the door? What do you guys think he sees?
Pipes, a lot of construction work. He sees like a door underground, and he thinks it might be the door to where, but
another world.
Yeah, but it could just be like the cafeteria of another.
Totally could. I think we can see the terraforming equipment in the background. In the foreground is the pit, whatever you want to call it. And I think this scene is actually maybe the other side of when William shows Dolores, look at my kingdom, like look at all this stuff.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
I think they're on the other side of that huge pit near the terraforming equipment as we see in that scene. And he's over here being like, oh, well, this is obviously new things. Interesting that it doesn't look like nothing to him. And more interesting that you're like, oh, well, there's the equipment, and maybe these are just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Wait, now, okay, so the thing on this season has been the Valley Beyond. Is this the Valley Beyond, you guys think?
Quite possibly. He does not refer to it like that until he's teaching Kohana what it is and telling her, you know, I was sure we would together find the Valley Beyond.
It was right here the last time.
I promise.
It was right by the cafeteria. There was a cafeteria. But he's been out there, though, before, as we mentioned.
Which I think is very interesting. I'm like, why doesn't he remember that? If he remembers everything else, why doesn't he remember?
And Dolores remembers some of that stuff.
Yep.
And
if Dolores remembers...
I think we should call it the Deathbringer. I love that nickname now.
I do, too. I like it a lot.
But, like, yeah, what is, like, is it just because she has been so, like, so tied to, like, Bernard, Arnold, and Ford for so long that... Yeah. Maybe that's what's kept that.
He would have recognized Logan. He's like, you're that guy that we did the mannequin challenge on, and then now you're naked, and he's like,
this is exactly what I thought.
Life comes at you fast.
Wow, that was such an old meme callback. Like, well done, Lynn.
Yeah,
that was good.
No, I wondered the exact same thing, and it's that question that actually led me to my question at the very end, which is, might Maeve be the new version of his Kohana? Because she repeats the line that they used to repeat to each other.
Okay,
is that part of the story because she had heard it?
I was thinking something a little different. I was wondering, is Maeve the new, like, Cradle? Is Maeve the new, not in the sense that she has, wait. Let me explain. Like, not in the sense that she has the other host backups, but she's able to interface with them, and this is like a rebirth of like a 3.0.
Like a living cradle.
Like a living cradle, yeah. Not in the actual server room, that kind of thing.
I think it's less, oh no, and more like...
Yeah, and it's also kind of, it gets a little more Matrixy with like, oh, we are on this plane that we can't explain. I don't know. There's one thing we should really bring up real quickly is the moment between Man in Black, Emily, and Ake. What do you guys think of that?
Oh, I like him when he's like, take him. Like, we're going to kill him anyway.
We're healing him to
No,
hurt
we
him.
want him to hurt.
Hurt, like, oh, they wanted to
We wanna
torture
hurt
him.
him.
Yeah.
We're going to heal him up to hurt him.
I want to hurt him too.
Apparently everybody does.
Yeah.
But Emily does the most.
Emily says she does the most.
She won't, probably. It's her
Right.
dad.
You
Could
don't
go
think
either
so?
way. I think, which leads me to, I'm very excited about next episode.
That's what I was getting at a little bit here, too. Yeah.
We'll see Celia Ward, very famous actress, playing Juliet, the mother.
The mother / the wife of
Yeah,
William.
Man in Black's
Man in
wife,
Black, yeah.
yes. Which I'm very excited to see. Love her as an actress. I think it's going to be a very intense family reunion to see how they all interact with each other and how that all goes. We also get a flashback to when tiny little Emily was meeting Dolores for the first time, which, as we all said, like, that kind of might have sparked her interest and made her kind of be like, oh, I like them more than humans. Let's hang out, please. Which is also how she learned to speak the Ghost Nation's language. I think that Emily knows more, is more, sees more than anybody realizes. I don't think she's the answer, but I do think that she holds some of the cards we need to figure out the main Westworld mystery.
Speaking of mysteries, I have like one remaining question from this episode, which you guys could maybe help me out, is with the maze that Ake was drawing, and I get it because, you know, he was like haunted by it, and he's like, what does this mean? And it keeps bothering him. And he draws it everywhere. I still don't get why it's on the scalps. And like, I'm assuming now they drew it on themselves because he's like, okay, so it's always with you, so you always remember. But one, it's not very practical because it's not like they could still see it when they get rebooted. And then two, like when they die and they scalp themselves, this tech still has to come in and repair them. So wouldn't the tech be like, why do they keep drawing it? Like, let's throw this away and all this stuff. Like, I still didn't really quite get it. And maybe it was just like, just a hole that's got to remain a hole, a plot hole, or
Pun not
I don't know.
intended.
Yeah.
But no, I was curious a little bit, maybe not that in depth, but it did call back to the first episode when they have to scalp. I'm not sure exactly which Ghost Nation member it is. I'd have to look again. But they take the scalp off, and the maze is there, but then you just see them not even, like, they just discard it.
Yep.
And it's not Arnold putting it there, too.
He goes, what the hell is this?
Yep,
Yeah.
and they just
And they puts it away and
discard
pulls
it.
out the light bulb.
They don't- yeah.
They don't even care what it is. So there's that as well. Like,
But you
I
still
think
have to-
but I think that's what goes back to it. Like, yes, they were scalping and putting that in there, but the text didn't know what it was. And they were like, oh, maybe someone just coded this in, or oh, it's on the inside, who cares, right?
Yeah.
So they couldn't really see it. But by virtue of imprinting it on another Ghost Nation tribe member, perhaps that's what put it in their minds, so to speak.
Or it's like those like early like video game things where like the guys sign the inside of like the circuit board, but you'll never see it unless you take the Atari apart or,
or
you
unless
take
you
the
know
Nintendo
it's
apart.
there.
Yeah.
Unless you know what you're looking for, you won't recognize it.
But what's the usefulness to Ghost Nation then if they can't see it either?
As he says, it's to spread the word. It's to basically create disciples.
Yeah.
Or a better sounding word, he creates evangelists of this new way of thinking of the maze and everything by spreading that out to them.
And then
But
maybe
the
it's
only
not
person who picks it up is Man in Black, I guess.
but maybe it's not just the Ghost Nation. Maybe it's also the people they're scalping and they're putting it on to these victim hosts.
Indoctrinating them into...
Indoctrinating them is a very better word. And I don't know. It's curious detail, but I wonder about that. And I'm excited about next episode for some of the William family drama.
Me too.
But I'm also like, I really love this episode. I really did.
liked it.
Way to go, HBO and Westworld. Way to go. That being said, thanks for joining us today and hearing us jibber jabber a little bit about this episode. If you guys want to add more to this, you guys can check us out on Twitter. I'm at Trick Holland.
I'm at Lynn Law.
I'm Miss CP.
And until then, you can subscribe. You can hit the like button. That will help a lot, too. And you can make the little bell ring. It gets you some notifications. Or if you want more Westworld stuff, check out CNET.com/Westworld. Can't even say it. It's so good.
Every time we say ring the bell, I just want to start singing Ring the Bell.
Yeah, me too. Maybe that's how we got it. And we can probably cut out here because we don't have rights to that song. So we can probably stop singing.
And I'm hearing those huge applause when I hop up on